Hi everybody, this is Rhys Barber from Audiology Associates. Thanks very much for watching that earwax removal compilation video today. Two patients in this compilation video. The first one here you can see is pretty straightforward. We've got a good second one as well, so it was a lovely one to do that one. I'll explain a bit more about that one later on. So we've got this really dark, hard wax here, quite old wax. It looks quite impacted together as well because it's tough as old boots, this one. So we're just lifting this wax, or trying to lift this wax off the base of the canal, but it's got so dried out and so hardened up, it's actually really firmly stuck here. Now we're just using the Jobson horn just to roll this piece of wax over. It's quite tough, so it should roll quite nicely. There we are. We'll just get behind it again. So we're just bringing this out of the canal. There we are. Very tough. You can actually see that lighter material that just flicked up in front of the camera there. That's actually a little bit of dry skin. So a lot of the time you'll get with these sort of older waxes, and the reason we know it's older, two things: it's darker and it's much tougher, it's harder, it's dried out. Sometimes when it passes over a little bit of dry skin in the ear canal, it'll dry around that and hold on to it really tightly. So this is how it looked before, and this is how it looked after. So we can see a much clearer ear canal, eardrum looking lovely and healthy. This is the patient's other ear here, so we can see very similar story on this side as well. So we're going to do exactly the same thing here. Now it is worth noting, we talk about the age of wax as well. You know, this wax is very dry, it's very dark, so I would say this is an older type earwax. Darker wax, somebody put in the comment section and say, well, how come sometimes you get darker wax further in and you'd expect that to be a slightly newer wax because it's produced further in? Dark wax isn't always a sign of age. You can sometimes get people who will produce a much darker wax, and we know there certainly can be color differences and consistency differences between people as well. So it's not always an indicator of age, but based on history and things like that, in this particular case, yep, it's been in there a little while, it's dried, it's solid, but it's come out really well. You can see it's very dark there. Let's take a look behind that. Eardrum looks nice and healthy. This is what it looked like before, and this is what it looks like after. And we've got 2 centimeters worth of earwax there, 3/4 of an inch on that one. So some good little pellets of really rock hard wax there. And yeah, patient very relieved to get that out of their ears as well, because it was causing a little bit of discomfort, especially when they were laying down at night and it was pressing against it. This patient. Right, let's give you a little bit of backstory with this patient. This particular patient has had hearing problems for a long time. So a lovely young lady, had experience, didn't have the best of experiences about 4 or 5 years back when they attempted to remove some wax from the ear. And it really put this lady off. They didn't clear it, and it really put this lady off seeking any kind of help whatsoever, bless her. She came through to our clinic, give us a ring, had a chat to us. She'd actually seen our videos on the channel as well, and wanted us to take a look at it. So this is this particular patient. You can see this is rock hard as well, really dark, tough, hard wax, unfortunately. So I'm trying to go as gently as I possibly can here for this patient. I want them to have a nice experience, and that way then they're more likely to come back to us to keep their ears up to scratch, if you like. But I'm really struggling to get this piece out. You can see, because it's gone such a long time, that it's actually quite a long piece of wax. It's difficult to maneuver this out the ear canal. Now, I'm always with a patient who's a little bit more nervous, who have had not particularly great experiences, let's put it that way, with maybe earwax removal in the past. I always try and explain what I'm doing as I'm going along, just explain the tools, what this is going to feel like, what the sensation is going to be in the ear, what it's going to sound like. So I'm just scooping this section, not putting too much pressure because I don't want to push it down too much on the bottom of the ear canal. You can see that layer of dead skin around the outside edge of that earwax plug there as well. But when we take a look behind it, now we've managed to clear most of the ear canal. We've just got this last little bit in here. So at this point, I'll be warning the patient it's going to be a lot noisier, because you're going to be able to hear a lot more of the sound of the suction. And we're just going to bring this down the canal. There we go, very gently, because that was in the most sensitive part of the ear there. So coming down really well. Just going to get a little bit of a wiggle on this, but I think this bit does break the end off a little bit. There we go. So we've got the outer section away. Just need to get that last little bit out of the ear canal, and then we'll have a good look at this eardrum. So this patient did have a bit of a history of ear issues as well. They had grommets when they were younger. So a grommet is a thin plastic tube that you insert into the eardrum, and that helps to aerate the middle ear space, which helps any fluid behind there to drain away a lot quicker. So there we go. There's the eardrum. So this is what it looked like at the start. And this is what it looks like at the end. So you can see much, much better. Patient very relieved. And you know, it was quite an overwhelming experience, I think, for this patient. They noticed it, they were taken aback by how much sound they could actually hear from that ear now we've taken that away. You know, don't forget, this patient's been normalizing this hearing issue for nearly 5 years. So you know, that suddenly to hear everything the way you should hear it, it makes a massive, massive difference. Now, this here canal here, we've got to go much more gently with. What we're looking at here is a very impacted wax. Now this is rock solid, it's filling the ear canal, it's stuck to every surface of the canal wall all the way around, and it's a really flat surface. This is all the things we really don't want to see in a patient who's quite nervous about having the procedure done. This is probably, if it's going to be a tough one to do, this is probably one of the tougher ones to do. So what I'm doing here is just trying to fold the sides in. Let's see if we can get a little bit of detachment of the wax from the sides of the canal wall into the center, which is then going to allow us to bring that central section of wax down the canal. Now, let's lift again here. It's not budging, it is stuck firmly in place, okay? And we are in now the deeper third of the ear canal, so the much more sensitive part of the ear. You can see I'm getting a little bit of movement. I'm really working this section, trying to work it away from the canal wall. So I'm not pressing against the side of the canal wall here. If anything, I'm trying to relieve it from the side. Olive oil's going in here now. We've coated it with olive oil. The difficulty is this wax is so old that the surface has really hardened up. So that oil's really just not penetrating in there at all. Excuse me. So what we're having to do here is trying to work the oil underneath. So if we do get a bit of movement, that the plug is actually going to slide on that surface of olive oil. So I got a bit of a frog in my throat this afternoon. You can see how the olive oil is just flicked up in front of the camera. So we've taken everything back out, cleaned everything off. Let's go back in now, see if we can work on this side section. I'm loath to use another tool at this point. I really want this patient to have a good experience. And the difficulty when it's this deep is when you press, the only tool that would really work with this would be a Jobson horn. And the only way to get that to work effectively would be to go over the top and put downward pressure. Now, if this is already hardened up and stuck, that's going to feel a little bit uncomfortable for the patient. And I really want them to have a good experience here. See, I'm just loosening everything all around the sides, trying to work that olive oil in there. I'm trying to see if I just get a bit of a gentle wiggle. Can I draw it down the canal into that less sensitive part of the ear, and maybe then be able to sneak over the top with a Jobson horn. But it is holding fast. It does not want to budge. So we're going to go in with the Jobson horn very gently. Watch now, this very tiny gap at the top. Gentle downwards and forwards momentum there. So we're just going to turn the lip at the top. There you go. Just fold it forward. That allows us to get behind a little bit further. Fold again. There we go. There you can see that top section is just detached and it folded forwards. So we've managed to get this plug from that deeper section of the canal and roll it down the canal to this outer section. Let's get a grip on this piece now and bring this down. There we are. Out that section comes. Now that looks a little bit small to me. Now I think we've just broken the top end of that off. So let's take a look back in there. Unfortunately we had, but because we've removed the top section, if we lift, we've got room so we can move it upwards. There we go. Now look at the difference. When you get that wiggle, now we've broken that whole top section away, we can get a bit of a wiggle coming down. Now, I would have said to the patient just before we use the Jobson horn, you will feel some downward pressure. This might just feel a mild pinch or mild scratching sensation, but if it's uncomfortable, you tell me. And fair play, this lovely lady was an absolute trooper. She did really, really well, really, really well. And we're just bringing this down. You can see it's got a little bit stuck. Now it's on the outer part of the ear canal. Let's just get behind it with a Jobson horn, scoop him forwards. Out he comes, there we go. Look at that smooth underside. This has been in here for years. Really, really stuck down in there. There we go. Out that piece comes as well. I will show you all the bits and pieces on the ruler now. There we go. There's the eardrum. You can see the blood vessels have come to the surface because we had to move around a lot in there. So this is how it looked when this particular lady came in first off, and this is how it looks now. So you can see much better. We can see the whole eardrum lovely and clear. So this is what we removed. So that's 4 centimeters, just over 4 centimeters, just slightly over 1.5 inches there. So a lot of debris came out, and this patient couldn't get over the difference in their hearing from when they walked in to when they walked out. It was amazing. It was almost like they had supersonic hearing. Well guys, that was a lovely one to end today on. So as always guys, take care of yourselves, take care of your ears, and take care of one another. And I'll see you again real soon. Bye everyone.